Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this little development series about my work on XQEMU. Just wanted to give a short update as I'm doing some bug hunting in Halo 2 on XQEMU. And if people find these types of videos insightful and interesting, maybe I'll do them again. So with that said, let's just jump in. So I've been looking at Halo 2 lately, the last few days, fixing some issues on my performance branch and some other places. And one thing that caught my eyes, there's this interesting striping feature going on these different on some different elements in the game. You can see it here on the battle rifle here that there's this stripe artifact on the barrel here, or on the barrel guard. And then if you look at the Warthog, there's also this there's this interesting stripe across the hood here. Maybe you like that. I don't know. But I think it doesn't look correct, so I also looked at the wheel here, and that doesn't look right. So the first thing to do here that I did was I went to see if the textures actually are loaded correctly. So I dumped the textures out for the wheel, specifically. That's what I looked at first. And the main color texture looks pretty good. It looks like what you would expect. You have the tread here, and you have the side view of the tire here with the hubcap. So the main color looks good. But then when it's being used, you know, we have this interesting like stripe artifact going along the side, you know, on the side here, and then of course against the hood. So the next thing that I did was to look at, you know, what does the geometry look like that we're feeding in through our pipeline. So I dumped out the corresponding, you know, texture attributes, and these looked pretty good. These are the texture coordinates that are going to be used, the UV coordinates, into the texture for the geometry that we're rendering. And you can see here that this is what you would expect. We have you know, this circle shape here, which maps directly to this side view of the wheel, and then we have, of course, the tread here along the side, and that's this piece here, and this gets wrapped around the cylinder of the tire. So this looks pretty good. So the next step then was to look at the vertex shader to make sure that we're transforming this input geometry into the final geometry that needs to be transformed. So taking a look at the vertex shader, we can you know, there's a lot of steps here. There's a lot of instructions. It looks pretty complicated, but the instructions are relatively simple. What we want to focus on for this specific part is texture 0. That's going to be the main color. So scrolling down to texture 0, we see that texture 0 is here. The XY components are a multiply add of this vector, multiply with this vector, and then add this vector, right? But one thing you'll notice is that we're doing this operation just before we did this to create texture 0. We did this other multiply add within the same slot here. We did a multiply add between R8, this one, and then we put that in R8, and then we used R8 again, right? So this looks like a pretty obvious read after write hazard. We're overwriting this value that we're about to use. And so what I did to remedy this is just move this temporary write here. This is a write into a temporary register. Move this after. So I'll show you what that looks like. You know, really just fix it in the code so that, you know, it emits something more like this, right? So that we're going to write out to this output register, and then we can write out to this temporary register at the same time. Because for these slots, you shouldn't be consuming the output as input in the same instruction here. It's not supposed to work like that. So fixing that. And then running it again, it looks like fixed the issue. So that's great. So now let's just fire up XQEMU a little bit and play around with it and see how it looks. So you notice also that the player character is missing here in the bottom left quadrant. That's a bug that I've already identified, and probably fix that soon. You also notice that we just lost audio there, so I'm still working through some kinks with the sound. So you can see that the striping's gone on the SMG here, and it's, I gotta walk all the way over here, huh? So yeah, I got a couple things to work out with the audio and some graphical issues with Halo 2 here, but it's moving along pretty well. Okay, here we are. You can see that the Warthog looks pretty good. So those issues are gone. Let's just drive into some light here. All right. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. Well, thanks for listening. And again, I might do these videos occasionally with some voiceover if people are interested. And yep, thanks a lot.